Everybody, how you guys doing? I think that was the first time I heard that version of Soon and Very Soon here in Metro, and Greg Chalmers was getting into it. He was big ups. He was excited. So, some of the other guys were a little bit maybe not as engaged dancing wise, but for those who don't know, my name is Joseph Porter. I work with the campus ministry here in the metro region of the Boston Church. It is a great honor and privilege to be speaking today. I also was at camp. I had a great week at camp. It was really just a great and inspiring week at camp. Camp is one of my favorite weeks of the year, far and away. And there's so much fun, so much spirituality. On the first day, there were maybe 8 counselors visiting from England at camp. And so what they do is they have all the people who aren't from New England or Canada, they introduce themselves so the whole camp can see, because there aren't a lot of them. And one of them, he introduced himself in front of the whole camp. He said, "I'm Harry Potter." And everyone just broke out laughing. We got to see some shooting stars. There's some great bonfires, great lessons. The Metro teens and counselors really represented at camp this year. You had Drew Klein headed up the film festival, which was one of the marquee events at camp. Michaela Perry got to rap in front of the whole camp, and Allie Chalmers had a little dance for her chant. There were some other things I'm forgetting. It was a great time. And one of the things I want to encourage you guys with is that the non-Christians who own Camp Laurel, where we go for teen camp, are always blown away by the behavior of your teens. They're just always just stunned. But yeah, you can clap for that. They're just always, they're amazed because you get 400, 500 teens together in one small campsite. That's a dangerous situation potentially. You can have a little Lord of the Flies thing going on if you're not careful. But they're always just amazed. I mean, I was at a camp with hundreds of teens for a week. I did not hear a single curse word. Just to think about how different that is from being in high school. I wanted all if you have a preteen or a teen, just wanted you to stand up if you're a parent of a preteen or teen so we can thank you guys, because you guys are doing a great job. And I wanted to share something that I took away from camp. The theme of camp was selflessness. And I love that theme because it shows us about what God's heart is like. And God has a selfless heart. And Jesus loved us selflessly. And then it shows us how to respond to that heart. And Jesus called us to live selfless lives. Now, selfishness, that's a big deal for the teens, right? Right, parents? Kind of quiet, surly amen, maybe there. Selfishness is big for teens, but really selflessness, that doesn't come naturally for any of us, does it? Sometimes I hear people blame society or the world for making us selfish, or they talk about the internet or the me generation. That's what some old timers call my generation. They call it the me generation. Just all about me. And there's some truth to that, but the reality is that we're all hardwired to be selfish, whether you're a baby boomer or a millennial, whether you're 21 or 61. That's just the way that we are. Most sins take some thought. If you're going to lie, you kind of have to think, okay, I'm going to tell a lie now, and this is the truth, and I'm not going to say that. Or, I know that this joke is kind of inappropriate, but I think it'll be funny, so I'm going to roll with it. Or, I have this piece of gossip, and I know it might hurt someone's feelings, but I just can't have to get it off my chest. It takes some forethought to sin in most ways. Selfishness, you don't even have to think about it. You get home after work or school. You don't think, well, what selfish things could I do right now? That's not how it works. You just do them. You just sit on the couch, turn on the TV. Oh, how was school? Good. It's just natural. It's automatic. What do we think about, even as we're just sitting in church? And Daniel kind of alluded to this in his welcome. Well, how comfortable is my seat? Is it too hot in here? Is it too cold in here? What am I going to do for lunch? Who are the Patriots playing today? Oh, it's a 1 o'clock game. Better make sure I get to home in time. I can't wait for my afternoon nap. That Sunday afternoon nap. That's what we think about. We don't think about world peace very much. We don't think about ending poverty. We think about, if we have an itch that we can't reach. That's what we think about. Even I was thinking about, as I gave this lesson to the teen boys, and what is the average, whether you're, 13 to 25-year-old male, what you walk through his day. And that's my age bracket. You wake up and you want to go back to sleep. And then you wake up, a couple hours later for real, and you kind of crawl out of bed, and then, what's going on Facebook, or what's going on Twitter? And, I'm just going to watch some SportsCenter. I saw the same episode of SportsCenter last night. I'm going to watch it again. I want to go to the movies. Oh, what do you mean I have chores, Mom? I don't want to do my chores. I'll do my chores. What do you mean I didn't do a good enough job cleaning my room? I did a fine job. I think it looks fine. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, did that girl text me back? I want to hang out with this person. Oh, I'm tired. I'm going to stay up and just watch some more TV. Oh, and just rinse and repeat. That's the way that it is. What do we do in conversation? We try to impress. What am I going to say next? What funny joke do I have? What piece of gossip do I have? Teen or adult, our nature is just to be all about us. And even when we're selfless, it tends to be in really short bursts. You guys remember the whole Kony 2012 thing that happened last year? The End Kony, there was this big thing on Facebook. There's this African warlord named Joseph Kony. And there was this kind of this video that went viral on YouTube about fighting Kony. And everyone was talking about, we're going to end Kony. We're going to defeat Kony. We're going to save Africa. And it was this trend that lasted for 48 hours. And that was it. And then people forgot about saving Africa. And they started thinking about sports and movies and guys and girls and TV and politics. It was just over like that. It was this burst of selflessness that was just gone. Even with the Boston Marathon bombing a few months ago, there were some incredible acts of selflessness, really some beautiful acts of selflessness that came in the wake of that tragedy. And there was one of the ones that really touched me was there's an online document that someone started where just literally thousands of people were listing their addresses for people who needed a place to stay after the marathon, because obviously the planes were all canceled, so there were a lot of people stranded in Boston. So you just read through and you see, I live in Cambridge, this is my address, we have a spare room, you can come whenever. I live, out in the suburbs, I live in Walpole, but I'll drive in and pick you up near South Station if that'll help, so you can have a place to stay. And it was really, I remember, just tearing up reading through this list of just thousands of people in the Boston area opening up their homes to strangers. That was a beautiful act, but it was a temporary act. Because during the rest of the year, there are over 15,000 homeless people in Massachusetts. And you don't see thousands of people just offering up their homes to them. We're selfless, but in small bursts most of the time. That's the way that we all are. I'm the same way. My sinful nature is to seek food, sleep, and entertainment. That's pretty much it. If I have some good food and I get to sleep in and I can entertain myself, that's a good day as far as my flesh is concerned. But it's the same way for all of us, even in preaching. What do I think about coming up on stage? Well, how are people going to respond? Not in the sense of, how's this going to change their lives, but what are they going to think of me? How are they going to encourage me afterwards? That's just the way that we're built. We're all selfish in different ways, and we can judge other people for their particular kinds of selfishness. But the truth is that we're selfish too, in our own way, and it's not really that much better. And Jesus calls us to turn this mentality upside down. I have 2 points today. The title of the sermon is It's Not About Me. My first point is it wasn't about him. Turn to Philippians chapter 2. Because Jesus' example was one of selflessness. Jesus' heart was a selfless heart. His life wasn't about him. We're going to read Philippians 2, verses 5 through 8. It says, "Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross." Jesus is divine. He's in the form of God, but he didn't try to be equal with God. He emptied himself. He became a servant, and he humbled himself to death. You know, I think about that TV show, Undercover Boss, where the boss he goes undercover as like a low-level employee for a week. Jesus did Undercover Human. You know, this extreme version of Undercover Boss. He was Undercover Human. It wasn't for a week. It was for 33 years. And it says, "Have this mind among yourselves. Let your mind, which is selfish and just wants food and sleep and everything else, let it be replaced. Let it be taken over by Jesus' mind." Because Jesus' mind is totally different. It wasn't about him. You know, Jesus didn't do a cost-benefit analysis before deciding to come to earth and die on the cross. That's how we normally make decisions. That's how I normally think. What's best for me? Do the benefits outweigh the costs? You know, as a teen, should I go to bed now and get more rest, or play one more game of Halo? That's a difficult cost. But I remember one time at a birthday party, we kept saying, one more game. And then the sun started to come up. And we had church that morning. That wasn't a good decision. Here's another one that comes up. I wake up, I'm lying in bed and I'm really tired, but I have to use the bathroom. There's a cost-benefit analysis. Do I get up and go out of bed, or do I stay in bed? This is a cost-benefit analysis. Am I the only one? I'm being vulnerable up here, emptying myself. I know I'm not the only one. I know I shouldn't cheat on my taxes, but I could really use the money. I know that I shouldn't go on this website, but it feels really good. I know I should reach out to my coworker, but that could get kind of awkward. You know, what if he tells the HR department and gets me in a little bit of trouble? That's how we think. Cost-benefit analysis. And that's not what Jesus did at all. Because there's really no question how the cost-benefit analysis goes. Like, gee, would I have a better time in heaven with all the angels worshiping me, and I'm with my Father, and we just do whatever we want, and we just can create universes for fun? Or should I go down to earth where I'll be a weak little human being, and people will hate me and kill me? Would I like to be co-creator of the universe, or an uneducated carpenter in the middle of nowhere, Israel? Let's list out some pros and cons. Let's think this through. That's not even a question. It wasn't a cost-benefit analysis. Jesus left heaven to get killed on the cross. And it wasn't because of the cost-benefit analysis. It was because he loved us. His love doesn't do cost-benefit analyses, right? Jesus made the decision that he wasn't going to live for himself. He wasn't even going to die for himself. He was going to die for us. Who are you living for? Who are you living for? You living for yourself or for others? I know who we say we're living for. I know that no one says, I'm going to live for myself. But who are you actually living for? If you look at your life, who are you living for? Why are you here? Not just here at church this Sunday morning. Why are you here on this planet? To have fun? To impress some guy or some girl? To get a nice house? To get your kids into good schools? To kind of combine Christianity with a nice, comfortable lifestyle? Can have the best of both worlds. Not really. And maybe you're here and you're wondering if Christianity is best for you. Maybe you're one of the teens who came back from camp, you're not a disciple, you're trying to figure that out. Is it best for me? Or maybe you're studying the Bible, or maybe you've already become a disciple, you've been a disciple for a long time, and you're wondering, well, should I still stick with this? Is this still best for me? Does this still make me feel as happy as it used to? I'm here to tell you right now, Christianity is not best for you. Are you kidding me? Christianity, how could Christianity be best for us? Christianity wasn't best for Jesus. It meant hardship, persecution, and an early painful death. And what did Jesus say? Follow me. Take up your cross daily. Christianity isn't best for us. How could it possibly be best for us? Christianity means giving stuff up. Christianity means you will keep less money for yourself. Christianity means you will have less free time. Christianity means that you will not be universally loved. You will sometimes be hated. It means that we can't care about popularity. I think many of us, we can trade in the peer pressure of the world for the peer pressure of the church. And instead of worrying about what, non-disciples think, we're just worrying about what the other disciples think. You're still worried about what people think. We have to follow Jesus no matter what anyone else thinks. Christianity, it's best for the world. It's best for the poor and needy who need our help. It's best for our friends who need Jesus desperately. It's best for our families and our relationships and our marriages. But as far as our earthly comfort, as far as our fleshly desires, it is not best for us at all. It's best in the long term. It's a better life overall in the sense of you're living for something bigger than yourself. But it's not best for you. It wasn't best for Jesus. His life wasn't about him. So it can't be best for us. The decision between following Jesus and not following Jesus, it's not a decision between two different ways of living for yourself. Oh, well, I wasn't happy in the world and now I'm happy in the church, so I'm going to stick with the church. That's not the mentality. It's between living for yourself or living for others. And I'm not saying that we won't be happy as disciples or that God doesn't have a plan for us or that it's not worth it. It is worth it. Living for God is totally worth it. Being able to hold your head up high and say, I am a man of God. I'm not perfect, but I'm striving to be a man of God, a woman of God. That is worth it. Forgiveness is worth it. New life is worth it. Eternal joy and peace compared to the temporary pleasures of this world, that's worth it. But if you only want to be a Christian when it's best for you, you will not make it. If you only want to be a Christian when God is blessing you and things are going well and you're feeling good and work is going good and your family's doing well, you will not make it because there are too many ups and downs in this life. And the root of that mindset is selfishness, and that selfishness will be exposed. Ultimately, it's a heart issue. It's a why issue. Are we disciples? Are we Christians because it makes us happy, or because we're really trying to love God and love others? Because Christianity, it's never going to be best on the selfish level. It'll always be best on the selfless level. But are we even operating on that level? The life of a disciple is a life of sacrifice. And that's the life that Jesus lived. That's the death that Jesus died. Jesus said, it's not about me. It wasn't about him. And he was willing to make that sacrifice for us out of love. Is that a sacrifice that we're willing to make for him? My second point, it's not about me. You guys with me? We just looked at Philippians 2, verses 5 through 8. We're going to backtrack a little. We're going to read verses 1 through 4. It's not about me. Philippians 2, verse 1, we're going to read the ESV. So if there's any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Look at verses 3 and 4 again. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Paul says, let others matter more. Put their needs ahead of your own. Decide that your life isn't going to be about you. You know, most of the time, and even for us as disciples, life tends to be all about us. You know, I was thinking about the way that I was before I became a disciple, growing up as a teen, and my life was just all about me. I cared about what girls thought, but they didn't seem to really care about what I thought. So I kind of had to find some other avenues of finding my self-worth. So school, I turned to school. So I did well in school. And so I thought, well, maybe if I can just be the smartest kid in the school, then I can matter. Then life will be good. We all think that way with different things, whether it's sports, school, art, looks, popularity. You know, I loved video games. I still do. I would play tons of Madden, which is a football video game. But I wouldn't even play the football. I would just manage the team and do simulations, which if you've played Madden, you know that's pretty weird. My cousin, Jonathan, so you know him, Jonathan Rogers, he had this game, this Star Wars game, that was a one-player game. So he was also selfish growing up, so he wouldn't let me play while he was awake. He wouldn't let me play while he was awake. I wanted to play this game so badly. I would wake up at like 4 in the morning, sneak into Jonathan's room where he was sleeping, like ninja turn on the TV even though it was dark, turn the volume all the way down and just play this Star Wars game in silence. And one time Jonathan woke up, he's like, "What are you doing?" It was all about me. It was all about having fun. I played a lot this role-playing game called Dungeons and Dragons. Some of you may have heard of it. And not only was I playing Dungeons and Dragons, but I didn't like the rules of the actual game, so I was trying to design my own system. You have no idea how geeky that is. Maybe some of you do. But that's what life was. It was about, you know, doing well in school so I could feel good about myself, and then just having fun playing video games. And if you're a parent of a teen boy, you know how invested the teen boys get in their video games. Interrupting a boy playing a video game, it's like interrupting like a hostage exchange. And you could have prepared his favorite meal. You could be just telling him that it's time for dinner. You're not even telling him to do chores. You kind of have to sneak in, like very gingerly, you know, "Johnny, you know, can you come up? Dinner's ready." Like, "No, what are you talking about, Mom? Can you pause the game?" "No, I can't pause the game. I have to save whatever, Middle Earth. But that's the way that I was. And I repented, amen. But even today, I still want to just sleep a lot and spend time by myself, and I don't feel like being selfless. I don't feel like meeting, strangers, people I don't know. I just want my life to be all about me. And look at, you think about my life as a teen, and then you look at Jesus' life. Really, just look at any of our lives and look at Jesus' life. And we're not going to turn there, but Mark 1, verses 35 through 39. It's just a snapshot, a day in the life of Jesus. And what does he do? He gets up early to pray. And then the apostles basically interrupt him during his quiet time. He doesn't get angry. He spends some time with them, and then he travels so that he can preach to more people and heal more people. Where's the vacation time, Jesus? I didn't read that story in Mark about Jesus, the downtime, where he just took a break from being selfless. I didn't see that. And not that vacations are bad, but you see what I'm saying. Jesus' life wasn't about him. And Paul echoes him. Paul says, it's not about me. Let others matter. And I want to walk us through some of what that might mean. I think it means some big things. The American dream, which is really just the world's dream, because everyone else is just as greedy as we are. If your life isn't about you, if you're deciding that your life isn't going to be about you, maybe you won't live in the house you want to live in. In fact, probably you won't live in the house you want to live in. Maybe you won't have the furniture, the car that you want to have. Maybe you won't live in the country you want to live in. There are 121 disciples per million people in North America. There are less than 10 in Europe and 1.3 in China. If Boston were as saturated disciple-wise as China, it would be like the little champagne room. That would be the Boston Church of Christ. What if God is calling you to go somewhere? It could be a third world country, just anywhere. And I know it's hard because what's happened is we've built these strong friendships. We've built all these connections. We're comfortable. We're established. Are we willing to give that up? Or are we going to just keep pretending that our lives are about us? Just having fun with our buddies here where we know each other. In the past 4 or 5 years, the New England churches have planted 3 church plantings right here in New England. Storrs, Connecticut, Portland, Maine, and just a few weeks ago, Burlington, Vermont. And that's exciting. As far as I know, and I could be wrong, but as far as I know, 0 married couples moved for any of those plantings in all of New England. Our churches are mostly married. Does that sound like it's not about me Christianity? How much of our money do we spend on ourselves? If you're spending over, 80 or 90% on yourself, on your family, how can we really believe that our lives aren't about us? How does that add up? Mike mentioned it yesterday. He did a great job in the Colossians teaching day along with Val. And he mentioned, he didn't talk about it a lot, but he said we should talk about it more. So I'm going to talk about it now. Colossians 3 says that greed is idolatry. Now, I don't know how much anyone here makes but me. But if a disciple from a third world country walked through your home, looked through your budget, what would he or she say about how greedy you are? And the real test is if Jesus who didn't have a place to rest his head, if he walked you through your finances, what would he say? I worry that Jesus would get angry at how a lot of us spend our money. Do our finances say that our lives aren't about us? That's the number one thing Jesus talked about in the Gospels, is money. Juniors and seniors, what colleges are you looking at? Well, I want to be with my friends. I want to go to a prestigious school. I want a big D1 school with a great football team so we can have fun on Saturdays. Are we even factoring God into the equation? How are we spending our free time? That's one of the most precious commodities we have. I know that we're busy. We have work and we have errands and we have families. And those are good things. So when we have free time, how are we using it? You know, I was so encouraged that there's a kid at camp. Well, a few years ago, there was a kid at camp, a teen from Connecticut, who had cancer, and he was going through chemotherapy, and he won the Camper of the Year award, and the whole camp just gave him a standing ovation spontaneously, like for 4 minutes. It was one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. And now he's doing a little bit better health-wise. And what was encouraging was for me to see him giving to other campers. Because there was a kid who came to camp from his ministry this year, and it was his first year at camp. His parents were just baptized last year. And he struggles with anxiety and some other issues, and he didn't know anyone at camp. And the kid who had struggled with cancer a few years ago had a quiet time with him every day. There's so many, he could have been hanging out with the cool kids, trying to get to know all of his old friends, but he was reaching out to this kid. And I was inspired. My cousin Daniel Van Aken, he loves sports, and he's good at them. It stinks that all my younger cousins are taller than I am, but and mostly stronger too. But Daniel really, he loves sports. He loves football. And Daniel, he got back from camp, and he said, I'm not really going to be able to serve a lot in the teen ministry if I play football, because football is just a huge time commitment. And so Daniel decided not to play football. That was a big deal for Daniel. But it's not about me. Larry Reed shared at camp about his father who passed away recently. And Larry, when he visited his father in the hospital, his father's lying in his deathbed, and there's a stranger there, a guy that Larry's never seen before, and he's wondering, who is this random guy in my dad's room? And he's calling the hospital, who is this guy? And his dad said, no, it's fine. I'm studying the Bible with him. Normally, someone is studying with the guy on the deathbed. But the guy on the deathbed was studying the Bible with someone else, his last moments on earth. How are we serving with our free time? It's not about me. It changes those big things, our time and our money and where we live, but it changes the little things too. In conversation, how quick are we to correct someone who makes a mistake in a conversation? Not like says something sinful, but just makes a factual mistake. Oh, this is the best way to get to this address. No, this way is quicker. No, LeBron James, he didn't score this many points per game. He scored that many points per game. I feel like guys, we tend to do that a lot. We try to draw attention to ourselves. Oh, I know this famous person. Oh, I got to see this famous person. I'm going to make this funny joke. What if in our conversations we tried to shine the limelight on other people? What if that was the goal in our conversations? Here I am talking in this group. How can I make this guy look like the coolest guy in the world? Not me, but him. If we spend our lives just trying to shine the limelight away from us and on other people, what an amazing way to live. Are we willing to talk with people about the things that they're interested in and not what we're interested in? This happens all the time in the fellowship. Someone gets going about something that I don't really care about. And I can just tune them out. I think we all do that. Are we investing in people? Are we more friendly in conversation with the people who are cool or funny or wealthy or attractive than we are with the other people? I struggle with that. And how are we at home? It's true. It's what Kevin Herka said, and I think Michaela repeated it. Who you are at home is who you are. That's a convicting thing to think about. Teens, is your mentality at home, let me do as few chores as possible. I met my quota, I'm done. Or is it, let me help my parents out as much as possible? You don't have to wait until your mom breaks her foot to help them out as much as possible. Husbands and wives, is our mentality, let me make my spouse's day as easy and painless as possible. I'm not married, but I think that's probably the right mentality to have in a marriage. I get a feeling. Driving, let me get there as fast as possible, or let me be a light to all the drivers around me. And Ryan and Daniel know that's probably the most convicting thing for me. Because I think some of us, and we were talking about this a lot at camp, you ever feel like, I'm not connecting emotionally with God. I'm coming to church, I feel like I'm doing a lot of the right things, but I'm not connecting with God in the way that I'd like. You ever feel that way? Yeah. I know I do. And I think one main reason that we can feel that way is that we're so selfish, including me. And my encouragement, if you're feeling that way, if you're here and you're just feeling kind of dry spiritually, just kind of like you're plateauing, stagnant, do something radically selfless and see if that doesn't change your heart. And the way, just to kind of sum up all of that application that we just talked through, is let others matter. Let others matter. Let other people look good. Give them the attention. Lift them up. Explore their interests and accomplishments. Give your money and time to the less fortunate than you. Even the special missions contribution coming up. What a great opportunity to live selflessly. Meet other people's needs. And selflessness, it isn't complicated. It's just really hard. I wanted to close with a story about a man named Dirk Willems. He's an Anabaptist from the 16th century. And so what that means, Anabaptists, they were some of the first people to say, wait, the Bible doesn't say we should baptize infants. We should baptize adults. So we're going to be baptized as adults. And the Protestant and Catholic churches in Europe at the time, in the 15th and 16th and 17th centuries, didn't really like that idea. And in fact, Dirk Willems was arrested for being an Anabaptist. For holding to his biblical convictions, he was arrested and he was sentenced to be burned on a stake. Now, Dirk Willems, he escaped from prison. And it was wintertime and he's running away from the prison. There's a guard. The prison guard is chasing after him. And it looks like he's going to break free. And the prison guard, he's running over a pond covered in snow, and he falls through the ice. And he starts to drown, the prison guard. And so Dirk Willems, this is his opportunity. The guard who is chasing him is drowning. He can escape now. Or he can turn around and help this guard who's chasing him so that he can kill him. And he can help him out of the ice. And he helped that guard out of the ice. And he saved that guard's life. And then he went back to prison and he was executed. He was burned at the stake. No mercy was shown to him for showing that mercy to the guard. But he decided, my life isn't about me. My life is about this guard who wants to kill me. And that's what Jesus decided. My life is about all these people who are going to kill me. I hope this lesson has been challenging and convicting, but I also hope it's inspired you, because the truth is that a life that's just lived for yourself, it's not a life worth living. The only kind of life worth living is a life that's lived for others. And if we're living for ourselves, we don't have a purpose, we don't have a mission, we're just children, and we won't have peace. will feel empty. Living for others, it's hard, but it's worth it. I believe, church, I believe that we have not reached our full potential as disciples. I believe that we have not reached our full potential as the metro region. I believe that there is so much great stuff that we're doing and so much more that we can do. There's so much room to grow. So many ways to become more like Jesus. You know, there's a song called "Asleep in the Light" by a singer from the 70s named Keith Green. And I love this song. There's this one line that's always stuck with me. It says, "The world is sleeping in the dark that the church just can't fight because it's asleep in the light." The world is sleeping in the dark, but we can't fight that if we're asleep in the light. I think some of us need to wake up. The church is a slumbering giant. It just needs to wake up, and it can turn this world upside down. You know, think about every hero you've ever known. And even from movies, you got Neo, you got Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Gandalf, Maximus, William Wallace, Yoda. Yo, man, don't mess with Yoda. Don't mess with Yoda. What do they all have in common? They didn't live for themselves. You want to be a hero? You want to make a difference in this world? You want your life to matter? Decide that your life won't be about you. Decide that your life won't be about you. Make some decisions today. Talk with the people in your life. Ask them, what do you see in my life? What can I change? Because Jesus' life wasn't about him. Jesus decided, it's not about me. I'm going to live selflessly. I'm going to die selflessly. I'm going to go to earth and be mocked and be killed selflessly. And so our lives, they shouldn't be about us either. We are called, and it's not a burden. It's actually an opportunity to go on an adventure, to go on a mission, to be heroes, to be the children and soldiers of God that we're called to be, and to change this world. It's not about me. To God be the glory.